Hey guys, what's good? Welcome in for today's Truth Talks. We're really going to have a conversation about the whole concept of truth. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to you? How do they go hand in hand? Do they not go hand in hand at all? And how do we really pursue truth in a genuine way? So as you guys come in, feel free to share the video out, invite some folks into our conversation today. And if you happen to be catching this on the replay, again, feel free to share the links, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or here on Facebook. I certainly appreciate that investment. This conversation is one that I think that if we began to have with young people at an early age and we grew up understanding our relationship with truth, that oftentimes we could avoid a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of heartache. So as you guys come in, I welcome you. My name is Marcy Batiste. I am the Ultimate Power Coach, America's #1 reality-based success and recovery trainer, and I welcome you to the Ultimate Power team. Ultimately, the goal is to help you to enrich your personal foundation so that you can empower your professional position. And to that point, one of the best things you can do is to be fully in tune with what your reality really is. And then to do that, you need to be in touch with your truth. And that is how we arrived at Truth Talks. So I welcome you. As we kind of enter into this conversation today, I was thinking one of my very favorite movies is A Few Good Men, and it's one of the most famous movie scenes ever, and it has one of my most favorite actors, Jack Nicholson, and he is playing this rogue colonel, and he's on trial for, and Tom Cruise is trying to get him to admit that he gave an order to commit an assault on another soldier. And so he's on the stand, and the only way that Tom Cruise is going to be able to win this case is if he can get Jack to admit that he made this order, that he did this order. And so Tom is the prosecutor, and he's got him kind of backed into a corner, and Jack's kind of like got this narcissistic personality, and he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. I know if I can get him to say this, his belief is I can win the case. And so one of the things he says is, Tom says to Jack, he says, I want the truth. And Jack looks at him from the stand and says, you can't handle the truth. And he said, I feel like I'm entitled to it. And Jack says, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to. And that, to me, is the epitome of our relationship with truth. Oftentimes, we feel like we are entitled to certain information, but we're not prepared to handle it. We truly aren't prepared to handle what that truth is. Furthermore, we've already got sort of our mind made up about what the truth is and what the truth looks like. And so in order for us to be honest about that, we have to compromise and give up maybe some limiting beliefs. We might have to give up some long-standing beliefs. It may be something against our character, but that scene in that movie when he says, you can't handle the truth and I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to, is the epitome across the board of people's natural human relationship with the truth. We say we want it. We say we want it real bad, but then when we're faced with it, it jacks us up most of the time because we haven't really thought through what does that look like to get in relationship with the truth. What's it feel like to be in relationship of what really is real? Suspecting something is totally different than having hard facts and confirmations. And so I was thinking about, as I was entering into Truth Talks, and we've been doing this now for a couple of weeks, and I was thinking, I don't know that people really are in tune with what it means to be in reality and at peace with the truth. And so I was thinking there are a few things that you have to, you sort of got to be willing to enter into this and with a certain kind of mindset. For instance, you got to be prepared for like what really is the truth. Like what if I find the truth? What if the truth that I suspect is confirmed? How does that affect my life? Because oftentimes we're in pursuit of this truth out there. Let's use the context of cheating, for instance. So we may have suspected that our significant other is doing extra things. We'll just call it that. They're doing extra things, that they're out and about. We might suspect it, but suspecting it and knowing it are two different things. They're two different things. And so you have to be prepared for what does it really look like? How does this impact my life? Like if I only suspect a certain truth, then I can operate from a space of really not knowing and kind of being okay with it. But once I know, and there's no going back from it. And so particularly when we're talking about infidelity and cheating and stepping outside of relationships, thanks for sharing, T. We're not always prepared of what that reality looks like. So we can live in this little fog of suspicion, and I personally, I can tell you from personal experience. I was in a relationship for 3 years. He cheated on me the entire 3 years. I suspected for 2 years and 11 months that he was not being honest. He was definitely not being faithful. But suspecting it and then seeing a photo of it in action was two totally different things. It was a whole different reality. It's a whole other ball game. And so that's one of the things. Really thinking it through. What does it look like to be in relationship with that truth? And how does, once I know the information that I said I wanted so damn bad, how does it affect my life? How is that going to change me? How is that going to change the dynamic of relationships? How is that going to change how I show up in the world? How is that going to change how the world shows up for me? Because it all is connected. And then I was thinking, like, from that same perspective, like being honest about, like, once you figure it out, once you find whatever that truth is that you so hell-bent on finding, what if you get confirmation? And why do you feel that thing, that piece of information, that detail, that confirmation, that truth is so important? How, like, if you haven't thought through how does this affect my life and why do I want to know so bad, then you certainly need to step back and think, why do I feel the way that I feel? Because ultimately, like, my opinion, especially on something like that, is once you believe it, you believe it. So the level of truth is irrelevant because trust is compromised. And I'm speaking, in that context of infidelity, because that's the subject that we're talking about. That's the example we're talking about, I should say. It's not the subject. But once you believe it, you believe it. So trust is broken. If you can get yourself and your mind to a place where you believe that someone that you love and care about is in this other space, how does it affect your life? How is it going to change your life? How is it going to affect your relationships? And how do you feel about that? Like, be honest about it. Be clear about it. And oftentimes, we don't even think it through. We don't even think it through. And then I remember with my situation, I wanted this information so bad, but I couldn't tell you why. Like, I felt like it was like my life's mission to prove that he was a piece of shit. And why? So I can prove that I live with a piece of shit? Like, it was stupid. From that standpoint, it didn't make sense. And the other thing where I kind of missed the target on that, and I learned so much, was I was pursuing a truth that I wasn't ready to deal with. So even though I wanted the truth, I was hell-bent on finding it. I was hell-bent on proving that he's garbage, and he's doing things, and he's lying, and he's a manipulator, and he's a narcissist, and like all of these truths that I had about him, which I later found out all was exactly on point. But I pursued that truth for at least 2 straight years. Like, it became my life's mission to prove beyond a shadow of doubt, because he was the type of guy that you could give him, like, I literally showed him a picture that this chick sent me of him doing what he do, and this fool tried to tell me it wasn't him, that it was photoshopped. Boy, bye. You in the shirt that I bought you. What do you mean? How stupid do you think I am? And then literally have you thinking that you really are crazy. Because part of me wanted him to change more than I wanted to be right. I didn't necessarily want to be right. So even though I was on this pursuit of this truth, my heart of hearts didn't want to be right. I didn't want that to be confirmed. And so I kind of wanted to believe, but then when I was faced with this cold hard fact, this proof, so to speak, I'm like, okay, so now what? Like, I hadn't thought it through to the point of how do I act on this truth? How do I move on this? What am I going to do about it? And so what happened was I didn't do anything. I now had the information. I now had the truth. I now had what I said I needed, but I didn't change anything. I didn't act on it. It didn't change anything. And what it did do was show him that it was okay to misbehave and behave badly, and that he could violate and come back, and that was okay, that I'd still be there. And so I started teaching him how to be emotionally abusive. I started to teach him how to disrespect me, and I continued to allow it for another year. After I had the cold hard proof that I said I wanted, I pursued the truth, but I wasn't ready to act on it. And so that's one of the other things, like, yeah, you might think you want this information, but if you're not ready to act on it, what's the impact of having the information and then not acting on it? Because while you still out here in La La Land, you kind of get a pass on having to act on it. But once that truth smacks you in the face, you look kind of silly if you don't act on it. And so thinking all of these things through and making sure that you're ready. And then the flip side of that then is being open to another perspective. What if I'm not right? What if I am wrong? Like, you have to be willing to be wrong. What if I had invested 2 years and trying to prove this situation, and then I still came up empty, or I had legit proof that it wasn't true? You know, let's say we've convinced ourselves our truth is that someone has stolen money from us. Let's say that. And then we find our money somewhere else. But we've invested a great deal of time trying to prove that this individual, maybe a friend of ours, maybe a family member of ours, took the money. And then lo and behold, we find it tucked away somewhere where we had hidden it, and it's proven beyond a shadow, again, they did not steal the money. So we said we wanted this truth. I want to know where my money is, and I know you took it. Well, but they didn't. And so you have to be willing to be wrong. And then when you do realize that you're wrong, how do I even want to say it? Have to be willing to be wrong and apologetic but not regretful. And what I mean by that is being able to admit you're wrong, but not regretting the fact that you sought the truth. Yes, you were wrong. They didn't steal your money. They didn't take your money. You misplaced it. That's the truth. You misplaced it. But should you be regretful for pursuing it? No. Should you be apologetic for accusing someone of something that wasn't true? Absolutely. Absolutely you should. You have to be willing to be wrong and be honest that you were wrong about it. That's how you get in a healthy relationship with the truth. Like, all of these things kind of all go together, and we have to navigate what that's going to look like, because at the end of the day, whether your truth is confirmed or your truth is denied, you got to live with it, baby. It's not going anywhere. Once you learn it, you've learned it. It's out there and you are stuck with it. And so understanding, how do I now navigate from that? How do I work past it? So let's say in the example of someone a good friend stealing money from you, and then you find out that that's not true. How do you navigate that relationship after that? How do you mend that relationship? Is the relationship you want to mend? And then you have to ask yourself, if I would believe that someone who was supposed to be a very good, close, personal friend of mine would steal from me, what does that say about where our relationship is? Was it already in breakdown for me to even have thought that? And if so, why? And so you have to be willing, like, sometimes you go off on these tangents, but that is the final step of really getting in relationship with your truth, is to be willing to grow through it. Be willing to grow through it. Be willing to grow from it. Don't get stuck on the who's right or the who's wrong. Learn to accept it for what it is. If you were right, what does that mean? What are you going to do about it? And how do I take this lesson and move forward? And if you were wrong, how do I feel about it? What am I going to do about it? How do I take this lesson and move forward from it? Because like Jack said, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to. It's about what can you handle. Don't go chasing truths that you aren't prepared to deal with. You have to be willing to accept either that you're right or that you're wrong. And either way, nothing will ever be the same again. It will never ever be the same again. Once you navigate and you find whatever that truth is, it changes things. Especially when we're talking in the context of how we are in relation with other people. Because if we've accused someone of something, cheating, stealing, lying, whatever the case may be, if we were right about it, it changes the relationship. And if we were wrong about it, it changes the relationship. And so understanding, like I said at the beginning of this, before you go in, are you ready to act on it? Because I know for me with the situation in my relationship, I wasn't ready to act on it. So what I ended up doing was being consumed with this mission to find this truth that once I found it, paralyzed me, and I was stuck. And then the relationship got worse. It got worse, and so I was stuck in a worse position, still afraid to move, still afraid to act, still afraid to say it's over, cut bait, I'm out, we're done. I couldn't do it, because when I went on the pursuit for the truth, I was wanting to be wrong and I was proven to be right. And a lot of times we want to be right and we're proven to be wrong, and in either case, now we're stuck because this isn't what we were prepared for. We were prepared for the result that we were prepared for. Because very seldom do we go on a pursuit for truth without preconceived notions. Like, we already have in our mind kind of what we think's going on. We have in our mind what we think's happening. And it's just a matter of, do we get proven right or do we get proven wrong? But in any case, through the process, being clear, being honest about, are you ready? Are you going to act on it? How does this affect relationships? How do you grow from it? At the end of the day, all of this personal development stuff don't mean jack if you're not willing to grow from it. You can have all of these experiences. You can have all of this training. You can have all of this education. You can have all of your degrees on your wall. But if you're not willing to grow from it as a human being and as an individual and change how you operate in this world and how you show up to this world, then you might as well save your time and save your money, because it's for nothing. And pursuing truth is just like that. If you're not willing to act on it, you're not willing to grow from it, you're not willing to change how you show up and how you let people be in relation with you based on the information that you find, then you might as well save your time. I literally wasted 2 years of my life trying to prove something that I wanted to be disproven, only to prove it and then be miserable. So, like I said, all of my truth talks, you guys, is always from a no judgment, no shade, because I done messed stuff up way more times than I got it right in my past. But the cool thing is being able to say, I learned an amazing freaking lesson. No matter what that truth is, if I can say I learned an amazing freaking lesson from it, and I was able to grow through it, then it was just an experience. It becomes just something that I had to go through in order to get to where I'm supposed to be. And that's, a lot of the detachment and things that you guys hear me talk about, detaching from the stories, detaching from the pain and reframing the stories. That's where that comes from, is because you grow through it. You don't get stuck there. Like, you have to be willing, when you're in pursuit of truth, that when you find the truth, whatever it is, are you ready to grow on? Because some of us want pain and past experiences to be this badge that we kind of wear and say, oh, we've been through some stuff and woe is me, and let me throw my pity party and see if I can get you to come cry on my towel with me. But that's not growth. That's bondage. That's being held hostage. That's holding yourself hostage. And so the idea of pursuing truth is to get in relationship with it in a healthy way that allows you to grow and develop and find the enrichment and the fulfillment and the happiness that you say you want. But even that, some people say they want it. But when it involves going through the truth, it involves going through this fire, walking out these exercises, they don't want it that bad. And so be honest with yourself about that. If you're not willing to act on it, maybe now's not the time for you to pursue that particular truth. Maybe you need to start with some truths about yourself first. Maybe you need to start with some self-work, some self-development, some self-ownership. Maybe that's where you start before you go out there pursuing truths that you're not prepared for. Maybe before you pursue those truths that, as Jack said, you can't handle the truth. I'm telling you, that's my favorite line in any movie. So that's my message for today, you guys. That's my talk about truth for today's Truth Talks, and I will be back with you guys later this week, and we will continue the conversations for real talks about real stuff for real people. And thanks, as always, for living life on Mars with me and being part of the Ultimate Power Team. I'll talk to y'all guys later. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend, because it's Friday. All right, I'm out.